Hey makeup friends, I'm a little bit late getting this video up. The Sephora sale event has already begun, but nonetheless, here we are. Today I'm going to be sharing with you my recommendations and also letting you know what I have picked up so far during the sale. Let's get into this. As always, I want to start off by welcoming you back to my channel, or if you are new here, then hello and welcome. My name is Kara, and on my channel, we like to mix beauty, brains, and the occasional F-bomb. In terms of the makeup that I'm wearing today, the eyeshadow is a palette that I'm going to be mentioning in a little bit, and on my lips is a lipstick that I'm going to be mentioning in a little bit, so we're just gonna gloss on over that. All right, so we're going to start off with some general information about the sale. I'm going to let you know what I have ordered, and then we will round out this video with my recommendations. I will let you know right now that I don't have a million recommendations to make. I really didn't want to overwhelm you, and there are a ton of these videos out and available. So if you're looking for any particular types of items, such as skincare or hair care, I won't be featuring them in this video, but I'm sure that you can find them in somebody else's. Okay, so if you're not familiar, every spring Sephora does have a sale. It probably has some sort of official name to it, but I just refer to it as the Sephora sale because I genuinely don't know what else to call it, and I just can't be bothered to look it up. So here we go. Now this sale is only for Beauty Insider members, so if you are not registered for that, you can sign up for that program for free. And there are 3 different tiers based on how much you purchase during a year. So at the top, you have the Rouge members, and their sale has already started. It began on April 9th, and it runs until April 19th. For all 3 levels, the sale ends on the same day. It's just they have a staggered starting date. So for Rouge members, you're going to be saving 20% when you use the code OMG Spring. Just knocking stuff over here. By the way, I hope that this audio is better. I have cried, I have sworn, I have watched a million YouTube videos on this and read forums. It should not be that difficult to plug a cord into a mic and then into my phone, and yet it has ruined me. Getting back to the sale, if you are in the mid-range of the Insider program, you are considered a VIB, and your sale starts on April 13th. The code is the same, OMG Spring, but you're going to be saving 15%. And then for Beauty Insider members, so those on the lowest tier of the membership scale, your sale starts on April 15th. The same code applies again, and you're going to save 10% off of your purchase. All right, I have a confession to make. I have already placed 2 orders, and I can't actually guarantee that I'm not going to place any more during the sale, but hear me out. I've only purchased 4 things, and I'm actually quite proud of that. Some of them do have a heftier price tag, but I've saved them up to purchase during the sale so that I could save some money off of them. So quickly, I'll give you the rundown of the items that I have picked up. 1, I just ordered the new palette from Adept Cosmetics, the Mary Jane palette. It retails for, I believe, $77 Canadian, so saving 14 and some change off of that is fantastic. I also picked up an eye pencil / lip pencil from Makeup Forever. I recently picked one up in this shade here. This is Fuchsia, etc. And I've been really impressed with how it applies, and I don't have an orange eyeliner or orange pencil, lip pencil. Actually, that's a lie. I do have an orange eyeliner pencil, but I don't really love it. This one is from NYX, and it is in the shade Shebang, and they call it the Vivid Bright eyeliner, but I never find them to be particularly vivid or bright. However, the shade Any Tangerine from Makeup Forever is most definitely vivid and bright, and it is going to fill that gap in my collection, so I picked that one up as well. I also picked up another eyeliner. This one from Tom Ford. I picked up the Eye Defining Eye Pen. It retails for $76 Canadian, so it's disgustingly expensive, but it has lived in my loves list for well over a year, probably over 2 years at this point, and I just keep looking at it. I've heard nothing but good reviews about it. It is dual-ended, so one end is even a little bit more precise than the other, and I've also heard that it lasts forever. So I'm choosing to view it as an investment, but also as an itch that I am finally satisfying. So stay tuned for my thoughts on that at some point, because if this thing doesn't knock my socks off, I'm gonna be salty. The last item that I picked up is a skincare item from Dr. Brandt, and it's the Magna Tight Age Defier Mask. The full size that I picked up retails for $99 Canadian, so being able to take 20% off of that really does help take some of the sting out of that price tag. But I really don't know what I'm walking into. It's one of those masks that you can remove with an actual magnet, and that comes with the full size. I was going to initially pick up the smaller size, but the magnet isn't included in that, so I didn't know if a regular fridge magnet would work. I've never used a mask like this before, so I thought, what the hell? Let's just go with the full size, cross our fingers, and hope for the best. I did read reviews on it, and it sounds like it does really make marked impressions on people, and their skin feels soft and clean and blah, 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 all the stuff that you would hope that it would at $100 a jar. So fingers are most definitely crossed. Time will tell. All right, so that's going to wrap it up for what I have purchased, and now it's time to move into my recommendations for you guys. There really shouldn't be much in the way of surprising items here, because all of these items that I'm about to talk about are ones that I have talked about ad nauseum on my channel before, with the exception of one. So let's start off with that one, because this one kind of surprised me. I wasn't anticipating including it in this video when I first started thinking about this, but it's the palette that's on my eyes today, and I have fallen fast and I have fallen hard for this palette. So it is the Soft Cashmere palette from Dior. This is one of their quints. There are the shades in there, very neutral, very sort of soft, everyday wear kind of makeup, but it is far from boring. These shimmery shadows that are in here are so beautiful, and they apply really nicely. I can pick them up with a brush, no problem. I don't need to build up the intensity with them with a setting spray. So all over my lid, what you see there is this top shade up here. The mattes blend out effortlessly. Like, this is quite possibly one of the easiest to use palettes that I have. And then that satin shadow that's included just down here, if I can see right down here, that one, it has a little bit of a reflective quality to it, as most satin shadows do, but it's not so strong that it looks strange if you put it into the crease or blend it around the edges. So I'm really, really impressed with this. I was going to pick up another one during the sale. However, Shoppers Drug Mart is also currently having a sale, so they're having one of their redemption events. So I did pick up $300 worth of items from Shoppers Drug Mart, and I was able to redeem my points for the full purchase price. And included in that was another palette from Dior, because my goodness, she's beautiful. Now, I do have one other palette to include, and again, it's in this neutral range of options, and that one is coming from NARS. So this is part of their Claudette collection. I often refer to it as the Claudette palette. That's not the actual name of it. It's the Saint Germain des Prés palette, but for lack of a better term, I just use Claudette because it's easier to say. I will say NARS needs to improve their packaging, because opening this palette, pain in the ass. But there are the shades in there. I will try to remember to include my original review of this palette up in the cards. It's beautiful. The concern that I had, and I talk about this in my previous video, but the concern that I had with this was that all the matte shades seem really deep in tone, and yet it's not a problem at all. These are shadows that really build up nicely, but don't go in fully opaque when you first apply them. So going in with a light hand on a fluffier brush, you can build a transition shade no problem whatsoever. And with these more metallic, shimmery shadows, they last all day without needing a glitter glue or anything of that sort underneath. So it's just a beautiful palette to work with. And in addition, the packaging on it is gorgeous as well. The little red hearts just get me. So I believe this is limited edition. So if you did want to save some money, now's the time to do that before it's out of stock. Now I have one other palette to talk about, but it's not for the eyes. It is a face palette. Any guesses? If you're familiar with my channel, if you've been here in the last 6 months, any guesses on what that might be? Did you guess Jouer? I love this thing so much. This is the Champagne and Macron Sweet Cheek Face Palette. This is the bronzer and the highlighter that I'm wearing today. The blush that I have on, I'm going to talk about in just a moment. But there are the shades in there, and what I really like about this palette is that everything has a function. You've got your highlighter and your bronzer, and you have two blushes. One is matte, one has a little bit more of a satin kind of finish to it. You can mix them together, or you can use them individually, and frankly, all of these tones work absolutely perfectly on my skin tone. But what I also like about this is that Jouer also has a deeper option in the exact same layout. And I really like that because a lot of face palettes I find just try to include everything right into that palette and try to be all things for all people, which the result ends up being that there's at least 2 or 3 shades that I can't use on my skin tone, and there's probably likely 2 or 3 shades that deeper complected people can't use as well. So I like the division between the two palettes, and frankly, this thing is a massive love of mine. In particular, this highlighter. So this is the highlighter in the shade Citrine. So if you're not interested in a full face palette, but you are in the market for a highlighter, you can purchase this highlighter individually, and I would highly recommend doing so. If I didn't have this one, I would be purchasing it. And let me tell you, as soon as I do hit pan on this, I will be picking up the full size Citrine because I think it's the most beautiful highlighter that I have in my collection. I think it just blends out gorgeously on the skin. It gives you that lit from within look. There's no glitteriness to it, and yet it packs a punch, but I love it. It's stunning. It's gorgeous. I highly recommend. So I just briefly mentioned the blush, so let's talk about that. And it's coming from Melt. It's one of their new cream blush lights, and it's in the shade Honey Thief. I did have the Honey Thief in the powder formula, but I really did not like it. I liked the color, I didn't like the formula. I just found that the powder was excessively powdery, like it just kicked up a ton in the pan, and I didn't enjoy that aspect of it, and I have since decluttered it. This is beautiful. It blends out without any problems whatsoever. There's no patchiness, there's no stickiness, and by the end of the day, it still looks every bit as good as it does when I first apply it in the morning. This shade in particular, I absolutely adore. I do have another shade, but I don't think they sell it on the Sephora website. I did purchase it through Melt, but if you're interested, it is this one here, and this one is Cali Dream, so you can see it's a little bit lighter than Honey Thief, but they are in that same sort of corally, orangey kind of family. I'm trying to open Honey Thief with one hand and failing spectacularly. There we go. So they are relatively similar. This one has a bit more of a pink undertone going on with it opposed to this one, but it's certainly not a bad fallback plan if you can't find Cali Dream on the Sephora website. Now at the top of the video, I said that the lipstick I'm wearing today I would mention later on, so let's do that now. It is coming from Natasha Denona, and it's one of the I Need a Nude lipsticks. This one in particular is in the shade Claudia. It's not color specific, my recommendation. Overall, it's just the formula of these lipsticks. I have 4 of them, and I love them all equally. It is more of a satiny kind of creamy lipstick. It's not matte by any stretch, and yet it's still very long lasting on the lips. But you get that benefit of it being really emollient and really comfortable. It feels so hydrating on the lips. It doesn't get sticky. It doesn't pill up. It doesn't like disappear from the inner portion of my lips. Like, do you ever get that where it refuses to apply on the inner portion and it just ends up with this like line of gunkiness? Not a cute look. So some of my lipsticks do that. This does not. And I just think it's such a comfortable wearing lipstick. And there's so many shades to choose from. They are all currently very nude. I mean, they're called I Need a Nude, but looking at the shades and looking at the naming of them, while I said that this is Claudia, it also has a number system to it too. So it says 15NB Claudia. So 15 neutral beige Claudia, and then there's some that have a P in there for pink, and so I find it really easy to pick a shade that is going to end up flattering me. If you have any sort of idea what your undertones are, it helps to narrow down the shade selection, but that's just sort of an added perk, frankly. I just think that the formula on these lipsticks is phenomenal. And then last but not least for this video, I have 2 items from Bite Beauty. One is the Upswing Liquid Liner, and the other is the Upswing Mascara. Let's talk about the mascara first. As you can see, I just have the deluxe size sample. I was very tempted to purchase the full size, but I have so many mascaras right now that I know if I buy the full size of this, I'm just going to be reaching for that over any of the others. So I'm going to hold off until I finish at least a couple more of my full size mascaras, and then I won't feel quite so guilty about neglecting the rest of them. But this mascara is fantastic. It is so, so good. Even on the very first application, it wasn't too wet for me. So the formula has held up. I've been using this for a few weeks at this point and almost exclusively. I find it very difficult to make myself use a different mascara than this one. I'm just gonna quickly hold it up so you can see what the wand looks like. I like that it's like this big old barrel and it's regular bristles. I just find that it really gets in with the lashes. There's nothing gimmicky about it or finicky at all. It does not clump my lashes up at all, but it really does separate and volumize them and lift the curl of them. And I haven't experienced any issues with irritation, smudging, flaking off, any of that. And yet at the end of the night, it's still easy to remove. So it checks all of the boxes for me, and I've just been blown away with how much I love this. It's hard for me to get like super excited about a mascara. Here we are. Now along the same lines, there's the liquid liner, and freaking love this liquid liner. It reminds me very much of the ABH liquid liner, which I also really love. Mine is currently sitting in my empties, waiting for me to one day, maybe, hopefully sometime, film an empties video. I just keep prioritizing other things over that. But that one does have a slightly lower price point, so if you are looking for a more budget-friendly option, the ABH liquid liner is the way to go. I think it comes in at 24 Canadian, whereas this one's 33. But I really, really do like this one. I like the applicator of it. It is a felt tip applicator, and yet it is just that right amount of flexibility, yet it's not too flexible. So there's just the right amount of stiffness. That's what we're all looking for in life, right? Yes. Moving on. It applies matte. Like, it dries really quickly, but even on initial application, it still looks matte. And I do like a matte liquid liner. I don't get super fussy about it because honestly, who the hell can really tell? But I just like the overall look of a matte liquid liner versus one that has a more satin finish. I just find that it doesn't produce like little weird reflex of light on the eyes as I'm blinking and moving around, which of course I have the benefit of seeing that on myself from editing these videos and taking Instagram pictures, but normal everyday life, I don't think people are that aware of the reflective levels of their eyeliners. So it's just a little bit of useless information for you, but there it is. At any rate, I really do like this liquid liner. It applies really easily. It doesn't get sticky on top of itself. And again, I don't have any issues with smudging throughout the day or it cracking or flaking off. I don't have to build up with a ton of layers in order to get full opacity. One swipe will do you, and there's still really good precision in here as well. So there you have it. Those are my recommendations. Like I said, I was trying to keep it down to just sort of a laser focus of what do I really, really love that I think is going to appeal to a lot of people. I didn't want to talk about foundations and concealers simply because those are so subjective and so dependent on everybody's personal needs. Didn't want to talk about skincare for the same reason, or hair care. I know nothing about hair care, frankly, so I am not the person to come to for product recommendations, but I did want to share the color cosmetics side of things with you, so there you have it. I'm going to wrap this video up here. I'd love to hear from you in the comments what items you intend to pick up during the sale, if any, or what recommendations you might have. I always love hearing what people enjoy using. So that is it. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch, and I will see you in my next one. Until then, just be a decent human being. Bye for now.